Okay, today we're talking about transformations of tangent and cotangent functions. So here's kind of a little graphic organizer to kind of help you keep things in order. We've got this letter or number. It's a letter that represents a number in front of tangent or cotangent. If you see a negative sign, then that's going to tell you there is a reflection over the x-axis. The absolute value of this number is your vertical stretch. This b here next to the x, now in the non-factored form, b is always next to x, but when we factor it out, we get to see the phase shift for the function. That b is going to represent the frequency, and we use the frequency to find the period. So we take pi, which is the natural period of tangent and cotangent, and we divide it by the frequency. C over b is going to represent the phase shift. Remember, the opposite sign is the direction. So if you see a negative in the parentheses, you're going to go to the positive direction. If you see a plus sign in the parentheses, you'll go in the negative direction. And this last number that's added at the very end, it could also be at the very beginning, represents your vertical shift. So it moves it up or down. We talked yesterday about the rhythms of the functions. So tangent from one asymptote to the next asymptote, you'll have a low, a mid, and high point. Now, that is also a negative cotangent function. The rhythm of cotangent is going to be your asymptote, a high, a middle, a low, to an asymptote. So if you want to pause and write those down, that might be a good thing. Okay, so for today we're talking about graphing and characteristics of these functions. So just to kind of go through what it looks like, this worksheet is also in Canvas. Vertical stretch would be this number right here. So yes, we have a vertical stretch of 2. Is there a reflection? Well, is there a negative out here in front of that 2? No. Is there a vertical shift? So that would be this number to the far right. Yes, and it is down 3. What is the period? There's no is there. There's always a period. So remember, our period is going to be pi divided by the frequency. So we're going to take pi and we're going to divide by the frequency of 1/2, which is going to give us 2 pi. And is there a phase shift? So is there any x plus or x minus in the parentheses? And that would be a no. Okay, for the next one, the vertical stretch. Well, that's going to be 4/3. Is there a reflection? Is there a negative out front? No. Is there a vertical shift? Yes, we're going to go up 1. And what is the period? Well, the frequency is 4, so we'll take pi and we'll divide it by 4. So the period is pi over 4. And is there a phase shift? Yes, there is a phase shift. It is going to be right pi over 2. Remember, it's opposite sign of what's in parentheses. Okay, for the next one, number 3, is there a vertical stretch, or what is the vertical stretch? Yes, it is 5, not negative 5, just 5. Okay, is there a reflection? Well, yes, there is a negative. Okay, the vertical shift, well, there is none. And what is the period? Well, the frequency is going to be 3. So the period would be pi divided by the frequency. And a phase shift. Well, the phase shift has to be, we have to fix this a little bit, and we're going to have to factor it. So when I factor out that frequency, I get x plus pi over 3. So my phase shift is going to be left pi over 3. Okay? All right, so we're going to do some graphing here. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, just so we get an idea. Tangent. Okay, so with tangent, remember we focus on the center. So tangent, if I'm looking at a graph, I have an asymptote, I have a y-axis, and an asymptote. And then tangent goes like this, where this right here is on the origin. Okay, so if I have a phase shift, I look at this point and I move it left or right. If I have a vertical shift, I move that point up or down. For cotangent, here's y, here's x. My asymptote is actually the y-axis, and so it goes like this, cotangent. Okay, so when I'm looking at a phase shift, I'm going to move this asymptote left or right, and then whatever this point is, this middle, I still move it up and down, along with the high and the low point. So for tangent here, the rhythm would be the asymptote, the low, the the middle, the high, and then the asymptote. And tangent always starts at the origin. However, we have a vertical shift of 2, so I'll go up 2. My frequency is 1, so my period is pi. So my quarter period is going to be pi over 4. So this is the center. So I will go 2 quarter periods to the right and 2 quarter periods to the left. Now this is pi, and pi is divided into 4 squares, so each square represents pi over 4. Now I look at my vertical stretch. It's just 1. So my next after the asymptote is a low, so I'll go down 1, and then I have a middle, and then I have a high. And so here's my graph. Okay, cotangent. Cotangent always backs up to the y-axis. I do have a multiplier or a vertical stretch of 2. There's no phase shift, but there is a vertical shift down 3. There's a 1 in front of x, so the frequency is 1, the period is pi, and the quarter period is pi over 4. Okay, so this is pi, it's divided into 4, so each square represents a quarter period. My asymptote is going to be the y-axis, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter periods. So here is 1 period. The rhythm is going to be the asymptote, a high, a middle, a low, and an asymptote. So the middle right here, I'm going to shift it down 3. 1, 2, 3. And the high is going to be up 2 from that, and the low is going to be down 2 from that. All right, the next one, my frequency here is 1/2, so my period is going to be pi divided by 1/2, which is 2 pi. So my quarter period is going to be pi over 2. Now I also have a vertical shift, I have a vertical stretch, and a reflection. So the reflection's going to basically change my rhythm. So it's now going to have the same rhythm as a cotangent. Okay, tangent, again, I always start on the y-axis, but in this case, I'll shift it up 1. And I will go 2 quarter periods to the right and 2 quarter periods to the left. Now the quarter periods here are pi over 2. So I've got 1 quarter period, 2 quarter period, asymptote. Then I have 1 quarter period, 2 quarter period, asymptote. Now at each of these quarter periods, the next to my left is going to be my high. So I'm going to go up 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then down 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's my graph. Okay, for cotangent, remember it backs up to the y-axis. So right here is the back of it. My frequency is 1/3. My period is going to be pi divided by 1/3. which is 3 pi, and my quarter period is 3 pi over 4. Okay, so notice pi is divided by 4, so each of these squares is a quarter period. So every 3 will be my quarter period. And that makes sense. From 0 to 3 pi is 1 full period. Okay, so then the next thing is I shift my middle right here up 1. So instead of starting on the x-axis there, that point being on the x-axis, whoops. And then I go back to my left. Sorry, this is cotangent. So I have A, H, M, L, A. To my left is my high, so I will go up 1/2. And to my right is my low, and then I will go down 1/2. Okay, now these down here, these are all phase shifts, so it's good to see our phase shifts. Now there's no frequency change, so the periods will all be pi here. And so my quarter periods are going to be pi over 4. Okay, now remember, tangent always starts on the y-axis, but now there's a phase shift, and I'm going to go right pi over 4. So instead of being here, I'm going to start here at pi over 4. But I also have a vertical shift, so I will go down 1. Okay. Now, my asymptotes will be 2 quarter periods to the left and 2 quarter periods to the right. So I have right there and then right here. Now it's centered right in the middle. Okay, it is a negative tangent, so it's going to look like a cotangent, AHMLA. And so to the left of the center point will be my high, and that's going to be up 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the right would be my low, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's going to look like that. All right, for cotangent, it's a negative, so it's going to actually look like a tangent, ALMHA. Cotangent always backs up to the y-axis, but I have a phase shift of left pi. So I'm going to go to the left pi. All right, now my period is still pi, so my quarter period is pi over 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and here's my other asymptote. Now, the middle of this normally is on the x-axis, but we're going to shift it down 3, and then my vertical stretch is 1. So my quarter period to the left will be my low, and my quarter period to the right will be my high. And then I go this way. Okay, and then that's the graphing portion.